Good morning, and indeed thank you for the opportunity to speak to you here today. The construction sector is a very important one for Bank of Ireland. Property development and construction finance has always been and will continue to be a core business for the Bank of Ireland Group. It's true today, and it's been right through the downturn when Bank of Ireland supported such construction projects as we're continuing in this country through that period, and I'll refer to some of those as I speak. In the more recent past, as our economic prospects have continued to improve, there has been an increasing focus on the role that the recovery of the construction sector will play in our economic growth and development, and on the deficit in our existing housing and general infrastructure supply. As we know well from the difficulties of recent years, the scale of the construction sector has to be right for the economy. At its peak, construction amounted for something like 25% of GDP, and frankly, that was too much. But having said that, we're now down at a level where it accounts for about 7% of GDP, and there is a lot of room for improvement from that base, which is too low. And if we look to other countries as a guide to where it should be, and indeed factor in the long-term trends for our own economy, for our own demographics, and indeed take account of the shortage of infrastructure, I think it's fair to say that Ireland could and should be capable of sustaining a construction industry equivalent to something like 10 to 12% of GDP. The government's Construction 2020 document, obviously a main focus for the discussion here today, highlights the important role that a strong and sustainable construction sector must play in the healthy functioning of our economy, and it sets out the government plans to restore the sector to strength. It's an area in which we in Bank of Ireland have a very keen interest and involvement. We play an active role in a high-level working group which is chaired by the Department of Finance and which is currently exploring the issue of sustainable bank financing for the construction sector. We all know, I think, that investment in sustainable infrastructure and in property development, and whether that's for public projects such as roads and schools, whether it's for industrial and commercial development or for housing, be it private residential or social housing, we all know that this investment is a critical component of a strong and vibrant economy. And without this infrastructural developments, we can see the problems that happen. In recent years, we went from a situation of producing, as has been said, far too many homes to building too few, and we see how quickly that has turned into a very real shortage of housing, and then indeed that's resulted in something which was identified or highlighted in July of this year in the government's statement of priorities, which did identify, as the Minister has said, the need to triple the number of housing units being built to 25,000 each year by the time we get to 2020. Developing these houses within that timescale, along with the infrastructure that needs to be developed in parallel, does require the planning and building to be progressed as soon as possible. It's hugely important, not just for the general economy, but for employment as well. The jobs dividend is very significant. The Taoiseach, the Minister for Social Protection, who will be speaking to us later today, has highlighted the very difficult situation of something like 80,000 construction workers that are currently unemployed. Construction activity is employment intensive. Delivering an additional 20,000 housing units has the potential to create an additional 50,000 direct construction jobs, according to our host here, the Construction Industry Federation. That underlines the fact that a recovery in the construction sector is so vitally important to job creation as well as to the economy as a whole. So Construction 2020 is therefore an important document which sets out its aim to deliver a strong, sustainable, well-financed, competitive and innovative approach to construction and housing, building to the highest standards and at realistic levels. And as the President said earlier, that's something to which I think we can all subscribe. For our part within Bank of Ireland, we feel that we have a fundamental role to play in making this plan a reality. Our support for the sector is very significant. We have been very active in the public-private partnership space, and we're in fact the only domestic bank that has been in a position to provide financing alongside the European Investment Bank for a wide range of projects right through the downturn, including new school builds and major road developments, the likes of the N11 south of Arklow, Newlands Cross, which we were all probably too familiar with if we're commuting in that direction, and indeed more recently the major motorway development between Gort and Tuam in County Galway. So these infrastructural developments, they're of critical importance to Ireland's continued economic recovery and indeed to the construction sector itself. And we are very proud to be part of the team that has continuously supported these developments right through. We're also in Bank of Ireland a very significant provider of property finance with roughly $1 billion of lending to large-scale commercial property projects in the last 12 months alone. I'm talking about high-profile projects such as the gasworks at Clancy Quay in the residential space, Liffey Valley and Stillorgan shopping centres, the likes of the Marker and Burlington hotels, along with the redevelopment of the former Montrose Hotel into student accommodation, and a number of major office developments that you'll see, particularly in the Dublin area. And I think significantly, while many of these cases, the initial finance was for investment, they are typically and very quickly supported by follow-on development activity. With the benefits that brings. And we are open for more development and construction finance business. Bank of Ireland has a fund of €250 million available to support residential and commercial development projects, and we have the capacity to increase that sum if the market warrants it. To work with the construction sector, we have established a dedicated construction and development team within Bank of Ireland Corporate Banking to manage the large development funding projects that are there. Indications for recovery are very positive. In recent months, we have experienced in Bank of Ireland a very sharp rise in development funding inquiries, and I would say we have responded positively to that increased demand. As of this moment, we have roughly 170 million lent to deliver 650 residential units and over 500,000 square feet of commercial space, all of which will be delivered over the next 12 to 18 months. I'm talking about developments such as residential developments in Clontarf and Dublin 4 in Blackrock. Of office developments, there's a development well over 100,000 square feet in progress in Cork at the moment. A similar size development in the retail space in West Dublin. This is a snapshot of the kind of things that are happening right now to support the construction industry. But on top of that, and very importantly for us, we have a strong pipeline of new business and frankly are actively seeking further opportunities in the construction sector. We are very positive for the future potential in financing construction in Ireland. As you might expect, most of the demand for residential development funding is coming from the Dublin area and the commuter belt at the moment, and we are seeing some activity as well in Cork and Galway in particular. I think it's fair to say that there's some way to go yet in terms of increasing house prices to make development viable in more of the regional locations, but I would be optimistic that is coming our way and will be seen in a reasonable space of time. Our approach to support for the property and construction sector is based on long-term sustainability. We want to see that long-term sustainability hardwired into how we think about development projects. Where Bank of Ireland is supporting a project, we require that promoters we work with have a strong balance sheet, have experience and a track record of delivering quality developments. Construction 2020 has noted the importance of having equity in the project financing mix, and the high-level working group that I mentioned earlier will examine whether the gap between the amount of development finance being offered by banks, such as ourselves, and the amount required to execute projects is appropriate, and what steps can be taken to address any gap that is there. We're in a position to help. We are going to adopt, and we'll continue to adopt, a prudent approach to lending as a bank. But we recognise that some of those with the skills and the capability may not have the financial resources to deliver development opportunities. As a senior lender, we in Bank of Ireland are happy to work with developers alongside your private equity providers, or indeed we're happy to facilitate introductions to the sources of private equity so that sustainable developments can be financed and can proceed. And I think that's important, that we are prepared to and can work with you to make sure we get the financing package in its entirety put in place. And that's one of the benefits we bring by having a dedicated team focusing on the construction and development sector. I would like to touch briefly on the area of land banks, and I'm talking about land banking being the acquiring of land without planning permission, or where a very substantial revision to planning permission is required. Frankly, the financing of land bank acquisition is not on Bank of Ireland's agenda. We see land banks as being something appropriate to equity financing, and that's very much in line with what you'll see internationally. Within Bank of Ireland, our focus is to facilitate development. It's to facilitate the financing of ready-to-go sites and the provision of working capital to enable the development on those sites. And typically in these situations, we look to advancing 50% of the site purchase cost and up to 70% of the development cost, representing something like 65% of the overall site and development cost, in line indeed with what the President mentioned earlier on today. That's a necessary and prudent approach to financing, and underlines the importance of the equity contribution, the connection with the equity piece to complete the financing equation. All in all, we believe that in Bank of Ireland, our approach, our funding and the expertise that we have through our dedicated teams will help to ensure that both parties, and by that I mean the developers and the lenders, will be very closely aligned in terms of ensuring that the projects that get financed are sustainable into the long term, that they are delivered in the right place and on the right scale, and that they meet the needs of the commercial and residential sectors now and as we look towards the future. Switching to the other side, I suppose, while providing suitable finance for development is essential, the sector won't deliver properties like houses or apartments, indeed, unless there are sufficient numbers of people in a position to buy them. So mortgage lending has to be seen and recognised as an important component in any examination of the property sector. And we, for our part, are ensuring that mortgages are available to potential purchasers who have the ability to meet the repayments on those mortgages. In the first half of 2014, mortgage lending increased by 63% over the same period last year, and that amounts to mortgage drawdowns of roughly 1.4 billion in the first half of this year across the market. Through Bank of Ireland, we're providing 1 in 3 of those mortgages, and we have introduced quite a range of mortgage products for first-time buyers and for movers to try and facilitate activity in the market. Most recently, you will have seen we introduced a 10-year fixed rate mortgage at just under 5% interest rate to give certainty of repayment to the group of buyers for whom that is the appropriate product. And I think what that illustrates is that Bank of Ireland, with a long-established market presence, has an innovative approach to our mortgage product. We have an experienced team of mortgage advisors, and most importantly, we actually have the money to lend. As we look ahead and as work continues in delivering the targets set out in Construction 2020, we in Bank of Ireland will remain fully engaged and we will remain in consultation with the Department of Finance on the Construction 2020 delivery, and with the industry industry groups such as the CIF here indeed, and Property Ireland and Chartered Surveyors, and indeed with NAMA, who have a very important role to play here. I think the signs for the national economy are increasingly positive. Growth in the construction sector is very encouraging. As I hope I have set out clearly in Bank of Ireland, we have been active in the sector right throughout the downturn of recent years, and for us the construction sector will remain as core to our business in the years ahead. And this means ensuring a flow of funding for both the development of property and important infrastructure, and also for the purchase of property. The flow of funding supports economic growth. It is a fundamental factor in development. It pays a strong domestic employment dividend. And for us, it is a very important element of our strategy of being a sustainably profitable, diversified and universal bank within Ireland. So, in closing, to say that, if you have a project which you need to progress, we would like to talk to you, because we believe we can help. We have the appetite, we have the team and the expertise, and we have the finance available to make developments happen. And I would like to think that we will see that translate into very substantial progress in the construction sector over the period ahead. And with that, I'll draw my contribution to a close. Thanks again to the Construction Industry Federation for the opportunity to speak, and indeed to you, the audience, for your attention.